All right, we are talking today about next level automation, and this will be fun. First of all, because there's a demo in it, and who of you works a lot with Visual Studio Code? All right, perfect, because it will be only Visual Studio Code today. I will explain it, so that will be the fun part. Before we talk about automation and like how innovation brings us forward, I have a small quiz for you. So there is a tool that was introduced in the past that was promised to everyone to reduce our work.
Excel.
It's not Excel. It's not the foundation of our databases. It's not the foundation of our workforce. No, it's not Excel, but good guess. It goes in the right direction.
Copilot.
It's not Copilot, no. Sorry?
The computer.
No, it's not a computer.
Viva.
Sorry?
Viva.
No. It's emails. Do you think that emails make your life easier? Mine not. And the funny part, like emails, I don't know, is Peter here? No, great, I can make this joke. So emails are longer around than Peter, basically. So they're literally there forever. So they're older than proMX. They're so old. Outlook has like more new icons than everything else. And emails, they work perfectly fine, and Outlook works perfectly fine, right? So you, Explorer, know any kind of challenges with that. So we not had anything like that some days ago, where like, I have 2 Microsoft Outlooks, and neither of them is working. So with like some NASA experience or something, where people go to the moon, and Outlook is not working. And yeah, so keep this in mind, because the demo will be interesting. And for our agenda today, we do small introduction. We directly jump to the showcase because this runs for like 20 minutes roughly. I also feel like I need to diss someone's mom with this thing here. Then we use small summary, and then we have some Q&A. So for me, I think I already got introduced perfectly. If you want to connect, there's a QR code with all my socials, with like, if you want to write me an email or whatever, because this is very productive apparently, you can just do right there. Also, good, he's not coming 5 minutes earlier.
I'm here.
Yeah, perfect. Right for the show. And also, we do have a new podcast with my colleague Joe. It's more like 30 minutes of us coupling each other. So if this is something interesting for you, there is a QR code for that. And I directly want to jump into the scenario. So I've received, I hope you can read it in the back. So I have received an email by my fellow colleague Joe about some feedback about an asset management application I've created. And basically he explores a blocking issue of that. And then I want to debug this all of you together in my demo. And with that, I need to handle this with the microphone. So we just jumping into the demo right away. So first of all, this email exists. This sits in my Outlook. So here's the email we just saw the screenshot of. So first of all, there's feedback for the asset management app. It looks great, but I cannot make any changes to the assets. So let's figure that out. Just to be aware of my environment, basically, I just have a dev environment so far. So I just have one environment where I do all my stuff, and there I'm as well developing that. My solution is available basically in GitHub. So I've uploaded that at some point. Latest version is from like 18 hours ago. So there are already some commits in here. Internet, yeah. So yeah, there's an updates here. So I put definitely some work on that. And yeah, so this sits on a public GitHub. So if you're keen to want to have this like 5-minute creation of our app, you're good to go with that one. But this is not what I'm going to show you today. I want to show you all around GitHub Copilot today, because I want to show you how we can tackle things like that. And I may zoom in a little bit, just a second. I need to, it's like a four finger combination shortcut to zoom in. I hope you can see any better. Important is like what happens here in the bottom. So we do have different options to go for. First of all, we have an option like where this runs. And in my case, it runs all locally on my machine. This is maybe the interesting part. So because with AI, with all of these future technology, everything is in the cloud, everything runs there. This actually runs locally on my machine. I also have the opportunity, for example, to change the kind of approvals. So when we start demo, it will ask me if it can run some scripts. It can maybe go through some commands and so like that. And there's something what we call the YOLO mode. And this is the autopilot, which we're going to try out today together. Because with that, I don't need to jump back to my laptop and say, yes, yes. In this case, it just runs through and figures it out. And on the left-hand side, basically here, what I did before, I run the command for pet aufruf. So PAC is basically short for the Power Admin Center CLI. The CLI is the command line interface, which is literally handling everything what we're doing today. So if we, for example, deploy a solution, this is handled via the CLI commands. So you basically, if you work with Power Platform, you're just accessing it via a very, very, very nice UI. But we don't care about UI today. We want to go onto the source. So I checked this. I'm logged in with my, in this case, Learn MVP account, which is the same account I just showed you before. So just to make sure I don't push anything to our productive tenant. Just to see that. And then on the right-hand side, I do have as well some connections. So we all talk about agents and about like AI and all stuff. And when we talk about agents, what comes to first in your mind? It's a thing in M365, correct? Like where you have the left-hand side bar, the opportunity to select the agent and then, for example, work with the researcher, go ahead with that. And do something in Teams, in Copilot, right? There are more agents than that, and there is more capabilities than that. And for example, here in my GitHub Copilot, I can, for example, I do have a custom agent, which is called Power Platform Bug Reviewer. Very nice name. So I'm selecting that one. I'm definitely not going with the Cloud Sonnet model, which is super expensive. So I'm going just with the outer model. And also what I can have, which we may see then over there, if I click on the settings, I do have access to many different other tools. So I have, for example, access to the Dataverse MCP, I have access to Foundry, Azure. I don't have access to Worker Queue, which makes the next step very, very tricky a little bit. Because I need to go via graph and it doesn't work so smoothly, but we will see that in a moment. So because I just don't have a license here. But what I actually want to show you, I have a little prompt, which I hope you can read, otherwise I can zoom in a little bit more. It basically says that review the latest email feedback from Joey regarding the asset manager. And this is hopefully the part where I remain standing here for the next 20 minutes and it just runs through. Because what is there, you can see that fine. What is happening is that there's an agent, this Power Platform Bug Review agent, that starts, I just don't see if it works. But, okay, should do something. Yeah, I think it runs. And so what happens there? So we have an agent in the background that retrieves this information from Graph, that spins up a new environment on my tenant, that takes the solution from the dev environment, commits that to my GitHub repository, and from there uses that solution and imports it into the target environment, so the new environment we're just spinning up, which is already great because I'm here hands-free, I'm not doing anything of that. The nice part will be that it should then as well test the solution and just test if the thing that Joe has reported is a real bug. And we can see that we do have some to-dos here, which I just basically all set. So right now we are getting to the point where we retrieving the email information. This is the tricky part because it's connecting to the graph and it's always taking the wrong ID in this case. So, but we can see that it will try to figure it out when it runs into an issue. And this is the actual part I want to show you today, because when we do have a custom agent and the answer is like not fulfilling, or the answer is not the thing that you're expecting to be, it's just a bad answer and you need to live with that. So you are then basically in charge to like, oh yeah, it doesn't work. It just does something. And in our case, when it runs into an issue, it will just retry and try again or adapt to it. It will also read through documentation. It will read through open instructions I have, which are basically giving us the point that it will run through that. So we're getting still like this email report. So let's see what it's doing, and I can just comment on that. So it loaded relevant workplace intelligence guidance. Nice. So basically what happens is that it tries to connect to the graph tenant ID and then a search through the client application for the application. I just need to see that it doesn't open any like windows when I don't look at it. And yeah, and then basically tries to get that. So this was basically the hard part of the implementation, because I don't have a license from WorkIQ, and I can explain WorkIQ for a second, because WorkIQ would be very helpful in this case, but I don't have an M65 Copilot license. Yeah, you're just using the wrong tenant. Okay, it will figure it out. Let it try. And so WorkIQ. I don't have my Work365 Copilot license here, so WorkIQ is the layer in between your business data and the AI that accessing the data. So that basically gives you a lot of context. And if you were here yesterday, we announced that we will have a model context protocol server for project operations, and the model context protocol server is basically there to give you more context. It gives you the idea of like what this conversation with Joe or this email with Peter or this opportunity you have worked on the last days, what does that mean in a business context, and what could that mean in order to the next steps or the prompt you have. And that layer of information is particularly useful if you want to work with your data, because you know best what this opportunity means and you know best like what to do next. But we want to give some of these tasks to the agent. And now we need to see, if not, we just copy paste it. Access denied, that's a nice thing. No, it should be fine. This is the crux. This is the fun part I mentioned, that like is okay, we just do a live demo and then connect it with that. So it still tries to figure it out. So basically what it does it already checked on the authentication and gets the yes. So now it figures it out. So there's a hard-coded, so just for you as a disclaimer, there are bugs in that, and they're by intention, because I want you to see how it could really work. It's not like something I could just show a demo with like 10 minutes and it just goes through. I want to show you how it really works and how it iterates. So what happened is there's a hard-coded tenant ID of the graph, and this points to my proMX user, but my proMX user has not access to whatever there is on my other tenant. So it needed to figure out, okay, I may need to use the authentication I used here on the left-hand side. Can I still make this bigger? No. So here on the left-hand side, I used the Power Platform Admin Center CLI to kind of get this data from, and it basically now then gets this done by the authentication and authenticates against that. It was just a little small window. This just comes up. So even though there is an issue, it comes across and saves that. So there is another tool that needs to authenticate, and then as well you can see that like this auth was successfully acquired, and then we go back, and with that basically it gets all of the authentication, and now the step 1 is done. So even though there's a bug in my code, which is intentionally there, it gets there because it knows how the CLI works. It understands what the Power Platform is, and it understands the context, very important word again, the context of what is happening again. And finds as well the email from Joe Griffin, Joe@Griffin. Did you send it from your private email? I thought you at least like sent it from a proMX email. And it basically says, okay, there's an issue with your app basically. And that on the edit of an asset, the save fails. So this is basically the content of my email, which I just retrieved here within GitHub Copilot. And it generates basically a new ticket with a new number of the today's date and an ID, which just like increases over that. It basically says, okay, which features affected, so asset editing. Also, it provides a severity, so P1, because it's a blocking core functionality. So without me telling it to do so, it determines, okay, this is some issue that you really need to talk about that. And as well, it gets some repro steps on that, so what you need to do. And as well, like points me out to the guy who's responding to it, which is Joe. And now he's moving to the step 2. So in the step 2 is, it just gets the latest version of the repo. And I'm not just giving something to the AI and to the agent. I'm actively leveraging all the tools we are using every day. They're just not triggered by me writing into the console PAC env connect, and then I need to pass a tenant ID and their environment ID. Everything what I'm showing, you can as well do manually, but do you really want to do it manually if it just can go through and I can, on the second screen, just go back to my emails? I'm not sure. So I don't want to read so much emails. So, step 2 is done. There's a baseline commit, and now it's creating a new sandbox environment. So I'm still just using this laptop to scroll through. I'm not creating anything in the background, so hands-free. And without me interfering with that, it's creating a new environment. As well, this is possible with the Power Platform Admin Center CLI, the PAC CLI. And what is happening in the background is it provisions a new sandbox environment. It gives it a name. It sets some settings, like for example, the currency and language. By the way, current language is English, not German. As a base language, very important fact. You kind of find stuff again. No offense. And what is then as well happening as well, so here's the command basically. Pack admin create, and then gives me the name. Not go away. And it gives it the name, this type sandbox, region Europe, currency EU, language is English in this case. I think German is 1035. 6. Thank you, Daniel. I directly looked into your direction because I knew you knew it. It's 35 or 36. And it as well says who I'm connected with. Oh, it just got away. Because I'm connected with the right user, and there's like a sandbox in your environment, and then it kind of gets that. And it uses all of these pack controls. It's not just doing something and I hope for the best. It's actively using what is available today. And when I just go back to my environments and reload them, I can see there's my new sandbox. I can maybe zoom in just for a second. So I can just, like that, provision a new sandbox environment. And I can do this with a developer environment, I can do this with production, and so on. Also, what should happen in a second is that it will be assigned to a group. I hope this works fine, otherwise let me see how far he gets already. He's still working on that. So because the next step is, I do have some preview features enabled, and I think this is the main reason why the demo will definitely not run through till the end. It will run through to the end, but it will not tell us that this is a bug. It will say this is fine. The main issue is that I'm using a code app because I thought, yeah, of course, let's show code app as well, and not just a model-driven app. Let's build something completely brand new from scratch, which is in preview. So, and code apps are usually disabled by default, so I needed to as well assign that new environment to an existing environment group. Environment group is a very, very nice concept, and you should use that. If you don't use environment groups today, talk to your proMX contact because the benefit of that is how you manage your environments. You can manage environments in groups in order to give access to preview features, access to only production features, and not just randomly have a developer set up an environment where they're using AI or they're using any kind of new preview features and try to deploy from there to your production. And with the environment groups, you can set up all of the policies, you can have rules on that, which are enabling or disabling certain features just on every environment that is automatically added to this environment group. So if you, for example, want to have environments which are completely disabled with any AI feature, you can set up those rules, disable all the AI features, and assign all of the environments you want to have into this group. And then on the creation of a new environment, once it's created, you can assign it to a group as well. And all of these settings are then just automatically overtaken. And as well, the user, even though they're a system administrator, they're not able to change that. So very, very nice feature. Here is exactly, again, where's it going? Here. There's the pack admin add group command. So we are just there directly, again, we are using everything what is already there, everything what we as well accessing. I could as well go in here, go to environment groups, wait till it loads, find bug fix testing. This is, by the way, the rules I've talked about. So there are different, can you see that? I can barely see it here. Maybe that's an issue. So you can, for example, set up different policies as well for connectors. So do you want that every one of your employees just connects their custom flow to a third-party tool you may not aware of? I guess not. So you can structure that. There's a lot of governance here in this session. Same with, like, for example, I can disable, enable an AI prompts or AI-generated documentations. I can, for example, enable or disable computer use if I want to create agents that can host a VM and do your job there on like legacy environments or in the web. I can set this up here. There's a lot of things to do, so definitely something to check out. And I think in my situation, the most important thing what I need to have is, for example, as well, release channel. I'll come to this in a second. There is power code apps. So code apps is literally the new thing. It is not replacing anything. It's just like additional application type you can add. You can generate this directly from code, and it is running natively, and you can directly debug this and push it to your Power Platform environment. So you basically have a new web application type here, and at the end we're going to see how this looks like. And this is not enabled by default. So if you want to work with that, make sure you go to your environment and to your system settings and check that, because this is disabled, and this was failing for the first half day my demo, because it's not really realizing that. The release channel, also something that has changed. We have 2 release channels monthly. We have 3. Auto is not a channel. We have 2. We have monthly channel and semi-annual channel. Use the monthly channel for any kind of environment you want to have access to the latest features. So any developer environment, maybe as well a UAT copy of your production that has access to these new environments because you want to test on the newest environments. Change since this year for the release wave updates is that these release wave updates, they're no longer opt-in. They're distributed against these channels. So if your organization is in a monthly channel, you will get automatically access to the 2026 release wave 1 preview features. So there is no opt-in anymore. You need to handle this over the release channel. And as well for that, you don't want to go to, I think at proMX, we have 120 environments. I don't want to set the release channel for 120 environments. So therefore, use these environment groups. Super, super helpful. I think Joe agrees. He's a big fan. And meanwhile, as well, my environment, which was created just 5 minutes ago, is part of that. So let's see back what our student does here. So step 3 is complete. Create a did we do step 2? Oh yeah, this was the comment. Yeah, that's fine. So the step 3 is complete. We have a fresh sandbox. So it's actively reporting back to me, right? So it's a good guy. So I can as well just directly click on that and jump there, and as well was added to the group. And now it basically imports the solution, which I have on my GitHub. So it checks again the connection and the solution import. I just want to see, we are too late for the report, and we are just like halfway through right now. So this is what I said, we definitely longer than half an hour, but let's see. So, and then as well, we are as well using the Power Platform Admin CLI. And this is as well how we can connect to different tools, how we connect, for example, to Foundry, to Azure, to any kind of MCP you have in mind. And we're just leveraging this information, but I don't need to make the effort to learn any detailed context and syntax of that. I can just say, hey, I want to deploy that, and then it kind of gets it and figures it out. So it was packed and imported successfully to the sandbox. And pack solution list confirms that proMX Summit is present in target environment. Okay, let's check that, because we want to, of course, review the work. This is someone from Microsoft here. This is the worst feature ever that I always land in here. I don't know who's making this up. Sorry if someone who's responsible for that is listening to this. I sometimes need to be careful what I'm saying. All right, so let's check to Power Apps and see how our solution works, if it loads. And yeah, so we are in our newly created, there are 2 environments, perfect. I think there's maybe an older one. Never mind. Let's stick with the one which is selected. Maybe it's still cached from an earlier test. But yeah, there we have 3 minutes ago. This looks about right. So here's our solution. And here are also all our components which I have created. So basically very, very simple. Some tables, there's a sitemap, there's an app with that, there's some business skills. This is something I will come back later to, because this helps a lot in order to create your agent in the future. And then there's as well an agent with that, which is basically just the Dataverse MCP that helps me to create this business skills. On the app side, I do have this code app here. And I just want to play it from here, just for you to see that it's really there. So it's fetching the app. It's not sitting right now in a model-driven app. It's just a Power App for itself, and this is basically how it looks like at the moment. So what I have, I do have a dashboard. I do have my assets, or a portfolio value, active assignments, maintenance, and all the stuff. I have some quick actions over there that I can just act. And I do as well have a sitemap here where I can just go through, search for my assignments and assets and maintenance. I do have some settings where I can add some categories, some departments, notification features and stuff like that. Looks quite okay, I think, for something I just built like a week ago. I can as well add new assets. So first of all, our application, which I developed on dev, is just here and just lives here, which is perfectly fine. So how is our agent doing? So step 4 complete. We have confirmed that. It struggles a little bit to go through the Dataverse MCP, and this is where it now gets interesting. In this case, wait, let's hide the to-dos that we can really see what is happening. So the MCP, which I have configured, has again the wrong ID, so it refers to a wrong environment. But we want to have that to the current environment. Why do we need to have this MCP? We want to have demo data as well, right? Because demo data, nice to test things. I don't need to create it manually. I want to just have that automatically. And then basically it failed here. Nice, so let's retry that one. I hope I just didn't trigger everything. Okay, let's see if it's. No, it has failed actually. Let's have it run again. If not, we can just speed it up, and I just jump into a previous example. I think this is very valid to jump into a previous example. Yeah. Let's go quickly to archived. Which one? I think this one was good. So while this is running, I'm just showing you what should have happened. Yeah. So, where we are, step 6. There's a lot of things to read. Yeah. So in this case, basically, this extraction, it also failed on the Dataverse part. We'll check back in a second if it could come over that. Yeah. No, this was not done. Yeah, here in this case, basically it gets me out my test results. So this is from Playwright. So I can as well not only connect it to the PAX CLI, but thanks, cool. Just sign in again. I can not just connect to PAX CLI or any like Microsoft stuff, but I can also connect directly to Playwright. And Playwright then, for example, gives me the screenshot like, okay, this is how it looks like. And I can basically walk through the cases and as well see that there's assets from here, and then basically see what happens in the system in the app. And from here, it then basically tries to find it, yes. And then it couldn't find the asset. That was the thing where I said, this will walk through, but like not till the end, because this was not working so far. I still need to work on that. But at the end, basically, which is the nice part, even though this was not working, it was very keen to figure things out and to read about how this could work. And at some point, it realized I cannot change the URL to access the record. So it came across to this finding by itself and just said, okay, I will just go with the UI. And then basically retry with UI, could chase the bug and recreate that. So it is not just something that I have configured in that way. It is just going through by itself, and it thinks about what is available to it through the tools and to the resources I gave it to it, as well through my chat history, unfortunately, because this is like a lot of testing and a lot of things. Yeah, sorry for all of this authentication stuff that just happens over time. What then happens at the end that I need to authenticate again? Can we change something about it? Where is my ID? But basically then what happens is that at the end of the day, I get a bug report in my GitHub. And I can basically provide that as a fix. I can fix it by myself. I can give it to an agent to fix that. And can go ahead with that. So in this case, there was a different issue during, Jesus Christ, okay, I will just stop the other one. In this case, it as well gives me some root cause hypothesis. So why this is maybe a bug, so why this is an issue. And it as well have the recommended fixes and so on. And I also have an output, which you may not see, which I zoom in a little bit. here. So I locally, because as you remember, we run all of the stuff locally. We just connected to some services online with our authentication key. All of that zip file is, for example, as well locally. No, you're annoying me, Mr. Agent. Why do you need to so much authentication? Let's see. Just get to all of them. Who's running still? This one. Oh yeah. Okay, so this one is just trying again. Let's just stop this one. Because I think anyways we are close to the end. So this, yeah, locally. Yeah, so this all runs locally. In a second, I'll come to questions. So this runs all locally, and as well generates on my disk basically a zip file with all of the reporting and the screenshots it take. So ideally, I can pull this up with a trigger. I can just, when a new bug report comes in per email or is issued on GitHub, I can just run this reporting. I can spin up a new testing environment. I can run through Playwright. I can figure out, is this a bug? Is this by design? And where I figure out if this is by design or not, I want to talk about business skills. Business skills is a new thing, I would say. Do you agree, Joy? Is a new thing, business skills. So first of all, who works with anthropic models? Nice. Good job. Yes. So if you work with Claude, for example, they have a concept of skills. So you can tell basically in a natural language what is happening there, or like what do you expect to do? What is the like step-by-step execution to, for example, follow your sales process or follow the process through purchase operations. We heard a lot that it's very clicky. It's very something. Okay, I need to pay attention to this. I need to do this. I need to do that, and I can define this in business skills. I will show you how they look like to not fear you out, because they are in a language I think most of you speak very well, because they are in English. So you don't need to learn any programming language to bring any value to your organization. Let's just wait for the internet. Which one should we go there? Department scoping and asset visibility. And then as well zoom in a little bit so you can see. And what we have here, so there's a name and stuff like that. We don't care about that right now. But there's a description, and this looks very, can I make this smaller? No. So, and this looks very like instructions you give to an agent, right? And basically we're just describing what needs to be done. Who's responsible, who are tables with that, so which tables we want to use, and as well how the process is. So we can really structure that from like do this, do that, do this. And we can hook this up with agents, we can hook this up with any kind of, for example, models, and we can use that across different scenarios. So if, for example, you just take you as an example because you're front row, you have a process for how you handle project creation, and there is a certain field that needs to be set because you have a custom field. You just put it in there, and the agent can retrieve that. There is no reason for you to buffer the agent with that. You just have it like defined once in your system as a kind of documentation, and every AI-based functionality can access this information and just retrieve that and follow along. So in my case, I set up these business skills and like what are assets and what is, for example, an asset manager and all of this stuff and what happens there. So it knows the context and it can just generate from that the content. Again, we're talking about the context. And with that, I think there were already some questions. I have one more slide for you, which I found my clicker for. Perfect. Does it work as well? It vibrates. Yes. And why I'm showing this today? So why did you have to stare to 25 minutes of an agent running automatically in Visual Studio Code that just tries something which it cannot do? Because it runs in an ecosystem. It runs in an ecosystem which we all be aware today. So it leverages GitHub and Copilot and GitHub Copilot CLI. Right, Manuel?
Right.
Awesome. It runs with Power Platform. It runs with Dataverse. We literally saw that. Also, it runs with the Power App. So we take a code app, move it from one place to another, or one environment. It also can run with Azure and Agent 365. It gets my information from Office. That's, by the way, the Office logo. I hope it is, because I searched for it very long. But it runs with Office. It retrieved my information from Outlook. It retrieved the information from Joe, who sent me an email. Hey, sucker, there's a bug. and then with all the authentication, so the moment this is what you didn't see, the authentication for Entra, where I read the email, this runs for an Entra application and I needed to provide that, I need to provide the permissions to it, so it can only read emails. It does nothing else. So it's so secure as it can get. And if you then add as well preparations and dynamics and this whole stack and everything else, then we do have an ecosystem which is unmatched and ready for you to take on with AI.